Alright, we're starting a little late, so we may run over a slight little bit, so bear with me. Hopefully it'll be compelling enough that you'll be entertained. I went to a school called Ripwam-Cisco in Bedford for 13 years. I made my first student film in 4th grade, my first horror slasher movie in 8th grade. And as a preppy kid, Ripwam was much like Brunswick, so I just want to be proof to you that you can be preppy. You don't have to have pink hair or wear a beret or all black to be a filmmaker. I went to NYU Film School. I went to University of Southern California Film School. There are many reasons to make films. You might be compelled to tell a very interesting story. You may have a story you feel to tell, a poignant tale. As Mrs. Colazar and I always say in English, it's not just what story you're telling, but it's how the story is told. You may want to just entertain. You may want to make a statement, or you might want to instruct, be it politically or educationally, or make money. But of course, the major reason why you make movies is to impress girls. I'm joking, but seriously, many of you will be, the 8th grade will be in the high school next year. Most of you will be in the high school soon. And soon you'll be taking women out on dates to the movies. In college, you'll be taking dates to the movies. Then you'll be taking your wife to dates to the movies. Then your kids, you'll be taking them to the movies. So I feel it's very important that maybe you guys learn a few things so you can impress people and sound like you know what you're talking about. Who here has seen a movie in the last week? Raise your hand. So obviously you can see that movies are a very important part of all of our lives. Who, raising their hand, knows who Peter Jackson is? Okay. How about Scott Rudin or Brian Grazer? Well, this is our first point. Peter Jackson directed Lord of the Rings and King Kong. He is a director. Scott Rudin and Brian Grazer are the most successful film producers of all time. You can see that we all know have an idea what a director does, but not what a producer does. So I'm going to take a little time to explain a couple jobs in the industry that you may not know or there may be some misconceptions about. A director, he's responsible for all the creative aspects of the movie. He's in charge of the entire creative scope of the film. This will include the action in front of the camera, which is the acting performances from his actors and the dialogue. He's responsible for trying to get the best performance that he can from his actors through a variety of techniques. He controls the camera position and the movement. However, he does this in conjunction with his cinematographer, which we'll get into in a minute. That's the man who controls the camera, or woman who controls the camera. He often will use storyboards. Storyboards are like a comic strip that a storyboard artist will create that outlines every shot of the movie ahead of time. And then you shoot it exactly the way that you had originally thought it out on the storyboard. He supervises a crew of artists and technicians. This director supervises the costume designer, the location scout, the set design, the special effects people. He's in charge of all of them. He is the coordinator of it all. He has final say. He usually oversees editing. He'll sit in the editing room with the editor and decide what cuts he wants to make and how he wants to edit him to do. Some examples of some famous directors: Steven Spielberg, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Oliver Stone are some accomplished modern day directors. Spielberg did, of course, Munich recently, E.T. Producer. This is something that you guys will probably learn something new. Director you may have known already. It's not just the guy who gets the money. It's a lot more than that. He's usually the first one involved with the film. Say I found a script that I liked, and I'm a producer. I'm the first one involved. I have to purchase the script. The producer is the one completely in control of the overall picture. He will obtain the material, he will locate a script, and he will option it. We'll get into options, it's complicated. Basically, you will purchase a script for a certain amount of time, usually 1 year, and you must make that movie in 1 year. If you don't, the writer owns his work again and can sell it to someone else and keeps the money. So it's an option for 1 year. You negotiate, arrange, or discuss with agents. Agent is someone who represents the screenwriter in this case and helps discuss the financial options. Like Scott Boras is the agent for Alex Rodriguez in sports. Here, the producer is negotiating with the agent for a screenwriter to obtain the rights to make the movie. The producer is the one that hires the director. If I'm producing a comedy, I will come up with a list of 10 directors who I think would be good who have directed hit comedies. You usually go with the type of director that suits the kind of film that you do. Hence, the producer can fire the director. So it's not the director who's really ultimately in charge unless you're an elite director like Spielberg or something. You may need to hire additional writers. Say, I'm doing a romantic comedy and I have a great script, but the man who wrote it didn't really write the intricacies of women very well. You would find a writer that writes women well, and you would negotiate with his agent or his lawyer and hire him to do a rewrite of that script to make those parts better, a polish. In cooperation with the director, the producer hires all the crew. He's important in casting. He will sit with all the different people that try out for the production. He's the key decision maker in publicity and marketing. A one sheet is the fancy term for a movie poster. The producer will decide with the publicity team what the movie poster will look like. When the release date of the movie is. You look on a sheet ahead of time and say, hey, King Kong's coming out December 20th. Maybe we won't release our movie that weekend. We'll release it another time when we can have better odds of making money. The trailer, they'll decide what the trailer looks like, what the DV cover will look like. Airline run. I remember I worked on Ransom and my boss sat and we would sit and decide how the movie would be edited, what swear words, what scenes, how it would be edited so we could play on an airline. And this is how detailed, every detail of the producer's job is. Problem solver with on-the-set problems. During the actual production of the film, the producer is in charge of getting an actor to A and B, figuring out all the different problems that are inherent in a production. He oversees the budget, all the monies that are being spent, when it's being spent, who's it's going to, the money is paid on time, employing a staff of accountants, and they're on the set. Every day the producer will have a theater much like this one, and you'll see everyone on the production team will see dailies or rushes, and that's the actual footage from that day's shooting. It gives them progress every day of how the movie's coming, and occasionally they will mail it back, send it back to the studio so the big guy can look and see if his money's being spent wisely, and sometimes they'll make changes based on dailies or rushes. Now we're on to what I did in the industry for some time. I forgot editing and music and scoring. Associate producer, I was associate producer on Scream 2, in addition to some other movies. And that's the member of the production company that carries out the producer's instructions, kind of like the producer's right arm man or woman. They assist in casting. For Scream 2, he said, Chad, find me 10 actors who can play Neve Campbell's boyfriend. She's the star of the movie. So I came up with 10 actors, who their agents were, how much they cost, if they were available during the time that we're shooting, and then we would negotiate with the agent and get these cast members listed. I also worked on story development, where I was the first person to read the new draft of Scream 2, and my boss would say, write 10 pages on how we can make Scream 2 better. I'd write the 10 pages, then we'd sit with the writer, Kevin Williamson, of Scream 2, and he'd take what we had to say, and then he'd rewrite it with our ideas in mind. Also, another job was to find new material. So every week I'd read 10 to 15 scripts. One time my boss had me read a script that a friend of hers, Night Shyamalan, an unknown director, had written, and I read it and I thought it was great. And I said, hey, this is pretty good, we should probably get this. And she said, so she read it and she said, no, I don't think it'll sell. It went on to be the 8th highest grossing movie of all time, called The Sixth Sense. And I was like the first one to ever read it, kind of fun to be in that position. Phone calls, you have to oversee the whole office and see what all the other assistants are doing. When I worked for a producer in New York, he had 9 assistants. There's the 9th assistant folded his laundry, walked his dog, and I was the first assistant at one point before I moved up. And it's a very stressful job. These producers have millions and millions of dollars at stake. You got Tom Cruise on hold because you're talking to Harrison Ford. So, he was very tough. He threw bagels at me, computers, cell phones, beepers, on a daily basis. I'm not joking. Just like Mr. P does now when I do something wrong. No, seriously, it's it's very stressful, but it's a creative process. It's a very stressful job. And you organize the movie premieres, come up with the list of people who's coming, you get the location of where it's going to be, and you do the publicity for the party.